I want to tell you a little bit about myself, give you a little background about my career, my work, how I've got to where I am, and where I hope to go, and what I hope to do. And I'm positive that when I'm done, I'm going to be able to have some information, or I would have given some information to all of you who can use it to realize your, what I call your superpower. And I'll explain more about exactly what that is. So, again, my name is Darryl Duncan, and I founded a company called GameBeat Studios in 1998. A little brief cliff notes of my career. I started out writing songs when I was about 12 years old. I started playing the organ when I was 9. And I realized that I had some type of talent when I was about 9 or 10 years old. And I eventually first got into the mainstream music industry. After writing songs, I got the attention of some local producers, and they presented me to some labels in California, and I ended up getting signed as a staff writer for A&M Records, and then I went on to sign with Warner Brothers Records from there. I then, after the mainstream music industry, I produced quite a few people, as Kristen mentioned, and I got a chance to really kind of fulfill my dreams working with a lot of artists that I grew up listening to. But I wanted to do something a little bit different. I didn't really want to depend on a hit record, so to speak, to feed my family. I wanted something that was a little bit more solid, so to speak. And so I decided to promote myself in the video game industry. And around 1994, 95, I actually got into the video gaming industry, promoting myself as a composer and sound designer. And I had 3 job offers. The one I took was, I was a big video game buff, by the way. I mean, I played video games constantly, even before I had kids. So when one of the offers were to be the lead composer and sound designer for John Madden Football, how easy was that decision? When I got that call, I was playing John Madden Football. So I took that offer, I moved to Florida and became the lead composer on John Madden Football and a number of other games. I want to quickly run through just a few of the game titles I created the music and or sound effects for. A lot of these games you young guys may not recognize because you were not even born when they were out, but I know you all play video games, right? Yeah. Okay. So just a few of them. I did John Madden 98, 99, and 2000. Some of these games you may remember, some of your parents may remember some of these games. NCAA football, Die Hard for the PlayStation. I bet you guys heard of this one. I did Blue's Clues. I did RoboCop, Dinotopia. Run through a couple of them real quick. I did a game called Dance Dance Revolution, The Sims, Hot Date, Nuclear Strike. This is one of my favorites. One of my biggest games that I did was a game for Microsoft called Zoo Tycoon, which was Microsoft's biggest selling PC title, second only to Flight Simulator. And I did all 3 of their expansion packs, the music and the sound effects. That's the main title. These were the expansion packs. And I did Knockout Kings for EA. It's not in order. A couple more Madden games I did. They were for different SKUs, we called them, but those are platforms. Genesis is not around anymore, but PC, Genesis, PlayStation, and the first generation of the Xbox. Quickly, March Madness, NBA, what was that? 2K2, Madden for the N64. That game system's not around anymore, but I bet some of your parents probably had it. And dogs and cats. And lastly was a game called Ultima Online, Third Dawn. I love doing video games. I love doing music for video games, especially I had young kids at the time. My kids were born in 1995, so around the time I was in video games, they were around you guys' age. They're 19 now in college, but I transitioned once again from the video game industry into the advertising industry, which is where I kind of wanted to be since I was 14 years old. I always dreamed of writing music for TV commercials and doing jingles. So that's what I did and have been doing since 2001, 2002. And as Kristen mentioned, I had the opportunity to write the music for a lot of different TV and radio ad campaigns, and I really enjoyed it, and I still do enjoy it. But backing up just a bit, when I was 10 years old, I began to recognize myself. My parents really didn't recognize, but I knew myself. This is me when I was about 10. I knew that I was struggling understanding what I was reading. Reading different books, and as you see, my favorite was Mad Magazine. Yeah. But I was reading and not quite comprehending what I was reading. And it wasn't the type of thing at 10 years old you go to your parents and tell them about. You just kind of figure, oh, I got to catch up and figure this out. So it was one of the things that I just kind of kept to myself. And like many of you, I know you listen to or read different things and struggle with trying to understand and comprehend some of the things you're reading. But one of the things that's very interesting is, of course, dyslexia affects so many different things in our lives. Our education, our spelling, reading, just a variety of things. But one thing that's not in that circle is how it affects music. And interestingly, I knew I was dyslexic, but I really didn't know what it was called until I was in my late 20s. I never really pursued any medical diagnosis until I was much older. But it affected my music in profound ways. So one of the things that I always like to tell people that some people realize, some don't, dyslexia is not a visual issue, it's a brain issue. It's how we process things inside of our brain. And for me, like everyone with dyslexia, we find ourselves struggling with words and sentences. I remember often, to this very day, I can drive down the freeway and see a billboard. It may say, just very short, may say, seatbelt saves lives. For some reason, my eyes see that as an image. I can never really start the sentence with the first word. I may see lives, I may see saves first, but it takes me a second, a couple seconds even, to realize what the whole thing said, like we're supposed to read from left to right. And that happens to this very day, and it will always happen. Of course, dyslexia is not something that we grow out of. We learn to adapt and we learn to adjust to it. But I'm really excited to share something with you guys, because all you guys right here and everyone in the room with dyslexia are superheroes, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. So, like for most people, dyslexia is seeing black words and black letters on a white paper. That's how most of us read. And that's how we first discover, or our parents discover, some of our issues with dyslexia. But just like the written word on paper and in books, so too is music, black letters and characters and symbols on white paper. So I took organ lessons. I was put in organ lessons by my parents when I was 9 years old. And the organ teacher was convinced I was not interested, was not applying myself, really didn't want to do music and was just being forced to. But that wasn't the case. I loved music. I loved playing it. When I was you guys' age, I would be able to put on a song on the radio or put in a tape. I won't tell you what type of tape because I'll be dating myself. 8-track. And, and I could listen once and go to the organ or piano and just play it. Just play it completely after hearing it just one time. And I didn't know that that was really special until maybe family or friends told me, how did you do that? And as I got older, I would also do the same thing with complex classical music. I would put a classical song on, listen to it from beginning to end, and I could go to the piano and I could play it. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And I decided to use this gift, I called it, and this superpower, to my advantage. And I knew I wanted to make a career out of making music. But again, back to my thing here, sheet music being symbols, black symbols on white paper. And what is the piano? Black keys on top of white keys. Now, one thing that's very, very interesting, I guess, in my situation, and I've only learned in the last few years that, of course, I'm not alone in this thing, but in my music career, I've written over 380 songs in my catalog. Now, if there was a piano in this room over in the corner, and I was to go to it, I would not be able to play any of the songs I've ever written. Whenever I go to the piano, I create. I cannot recreate, even if it's my own work. When I go to the piano, it's to create something, so I can start something from scratch. Even if I created it, I can never go there and play it again unless I listened and learned it again. So that kept me from a few things in my career. I was asked to be a part of the group Earth, Wind & Fire, which was my idol group growing up. Maurice White, who was my mentor and friend, asked me that, and I was like, I made an excuse, but I knew I would not be able to maintain a full show on stage as a performer. I'm a creator. Put me in a room with my equipment and I can work magic, but I can't impress anyone just sitting at a piano. And I was also asked to tour with Prince, another one of my idols. He had an opening act named Jill Jones, and their camp called me and asked me if I was available to tour with Prince and Jill Jones. And again, I had to turn it down and I didn't, at that time, I was in the mode of hiding my dyslexia and not sharing it with anyone. So I turned it down because at the time, actually, I had a reason to turn it down. I was just signed to Motown Records as a solo artist. So I did not have and I had to work on my album, and I really didn't have the time to tour with another group. So I decided to use that excuse as to why I had to turn it down. I could kick myself because Prince and Earth, Wind & Fire are the two reasons I wanted to get into music growing up. But anyway, back to my point. So, interestingly enough, my career has been that of creating music. If it wasn't for my studio and my computer software, my music software, I probably would not have a career in music. But it's a blessing, it's a gift and not a curse. I used to think of dyslexia as a curse, as my dark secret that I can never tell anyone. I should never tell anyone because they think I was stupid or dumb or not as smart. But it is actually a gift that makes us all superheroes, because superheroes have superpowers, right? And I'll tell you why all you have superpowers, whether you know it or not. Of course, dyslexia is not a symbol, not a sign of your intelligence or your willingness to want to learn. It's not about impaired vision. It's an issue with our brains. And everyone's brain is different. It's like an hourglass. The sand can't be on both sides at one time. If it's all on one side, it's in the side that we were born with, all the things that we use to think and create and breathe and be smart. So when a little sand creeps into the other side, that's our superpower. It may leave that main side, but the sand that creeps into the other side of the hourglass is what only dyslexic people have to use as their superpower. The sand that creeped into the other side of the hourglass for me was my ability to create music. And there's sand that creeped into the hourglasses of everyone in here that gives you your superpower. Now, for so long, like I said, I thought of dyslexia as a curse, something to be ashamed of or sad about. But I'm 52 years old now. Only when I was in my late 30s, I would say 40 years old, did I stop looking at it as a curse and begin to look at it as a gift. It really is a gift, and I'm gonna tell you why it's a gift. A gift that you guys will learn to control once you know about it. It's a gift because everyone with dyslexia, and I say everyone loosely, I say 99 out of 100 people with dyslexia, and that's my unofficial number, but literally everyone with dyslexia has unique talents, almost rare gifts that people without dyslexia do not have. And it took me a long time to realize what my gift was, and you may not know it yet, but you guys have a special talent, a special gift. I already know Sean's is hockey. But each of you have a gift and a talent that is above average, probably rare, so unique that makes you very, very special. There are so many people with dyslexia. As you guys look at this picture, especially all the young people in the room, you won't know who many of these people are because they're not your generation. But there's so many very popular people with dyslexia. Everyone in this picture are people with dyslexia. And they're in this picture because they're famous. And they became famous because they have unique talents and unique gifts. You guys probably heard of Justin Timberlake, right? You probably heard of, I don't know, Will Smith. There are a lot of people, and even people who are much younger that are not in this image, but people that you probably know of and heard of and like, that have dyslexia. And what these people have done is they found their superpower. And I call it a superpower. My superpower is creating music. You guys' challenge is to determine what your superpower is. That's what you have to do. That's what your mission is to determine what your superpower is, because you have one, okay? We all have talents, people with or without dyslexia, but people with dyslexia have unique skills, above average talents. You may not know what it is yet, or you might know what it is, but you have it, and it's just a matter of figuring out what it is. But all these people are dyslexic. In the top left is Einstein. His superpower was physics, math. You know, one of the greatest thinkers of our time is responsible for many of the things that we have today. But I'm not going to go through everyone, of course, in this list, but a lot of these people, there may be athletic gifts. It may be gifts of singing or musicianship. It may be a gift of athleticism or ability to make people laugh, a comedic talent. It could be anything. It could be working with your hands and drawing or woodworking or arts and crafts. But when you find what that superpower is, you will be better at it than almost anyone else. That's why I consider people with dyslexia superheroes, because superheroes have superpowers. You understand what I'm saying? Regular people don't have superpowers. They need superheroes have superpowers. My superpower is music, and I'm going to ask you guys, I have a gift up here for you guys, and when I'm done in a second, I'm going to ask each of you what you think your superpower might be. Because you all have one. You might not know yet, but you have an idea what you think you really, really like and what you're really, really good at that other people may not be as good at. So with that said, the challenge in your lives, before you find out what your superpower is and after you find out, is to embrace your dyslexia. Do not look at it as a bad thing. Embrace it and find out what your superpower is. You understand what I'm saying? Find out what your superpower is. You have one. It's inside. Like, I know you guys saw the movie Spider-Man, right? Mm-hmm. He didn't know what his superpower was until he was accidentally shooting webs around his room, remember? He didn't really know, but he realized what his superpower is. Now, that's a fictional comic book character, but you guys have real life talents and abilities that you might not be aware of yet. So I want to answer questions from anyone who might have some, but I first want to have all the young people or anyone in the room who has dyslexia to come up here, tell me what you think your superpower is, and I'm going to give you a special gift. First of all, how many of you use computers? Use computers? Okay. Well, I have a little gift that you might be able to use when you use your computers, or you can give it to your parents, or maybe the parents can come up here and get one. But anyway, I'm going to start with you. Now, what I want you to do is just come up here and tell me your name, your age, and what you think your superpower is. Okay? Go ahead. Ellie. Speak up. Ellie. I'm 10. You're 10? Mm-hmm. What do you think your superpower is? Singing. Singing? I know singing. Really? Mm-hmm. Well, you keep working at it. If singing is your superpower and you know it, then that's your superpower. Then you pursue it. Now, that's for you. That's a mouse pad for you to use on your computer. I have a computer. Your turn. Speak loud. Mason. Mason. 6. So you're 6. And what's your superpower? Chess and math. Chess and math. Now, that's really cool. When I was in high school, I was my freshman year chess champion. Then I left that high school, went to another high school, and I couldn't compete. Good job, Mason. Now you pursue chess, because chess and math, that'll take you a long way. I'm telling you, you'll be like Einstein. Okay, your turn.
My name's Joey, and I'm 9 years old, and I like making movies.
Making movies? You know, I've been dying to get into movies. You think when you get up there and you need some money to do a soundtrack for your movie, you'll call me?
You're probably going to do that for me.
I'm going to give you my card. I'm going to hold you to that, okay? when you make your big feature film, I can do any type of score, any type of music, you know, any theme, dramatic, suspenseful, romantic. Remember me now. Here you go. All right. And that's what I meant to mention too. That's one thing that I hope to accomplish in my career. I want to write for motion pictures. I've done a few other things and kind of accomplished most of my goals, but my goal now is to get more into movies and motion pictures and scoring documentaries and that type of stuff. Okay, your turn.
Jake.
Speak up.
I'm Jake.
Jake,
I'm 6 years old.
you're 6. Now what's your superpower?
Baseball?
Baseball. There are athletes in that picture I showed you. You good at baseball? You know, what position do you play?
I don't know.
You like baseball though, huh? Mm-hmm. Well, good. That's athletic superpower. Sean, I bet you I can tell you what your superpower is.
Sean 8 hockey.
You're 8?
Yeah.
Cool. And your superpower is hockey. Awesome. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Say again?
Cooper.
Cooper, how you doing?
Good.
What's your age? How old are you?
5.
5. And what's your superpower?
Writing
Writing. And what else?
words.
Writing words. There were some authors in there. Authors are very special and important people. I hope to see your novel on the big screen in about 20 years, maybe 18. You're 5, now maybe 15. There you go.
Yeah, because that's a good
I know.
I'm May and I'm 6 years old.
You're May, okay, and you're 6. Okay, and what's your superpower?
Coloring.
Coloring, and what else? Coloring, that means you're an artist. That means you can probably do animation and write artists and do, it's coloring now, but that's artistic special power. And there's so many jobs and careers for people with artistic talents. So you know your superpower too. Great. Little kids and big kids.
Big kids too.
Hello, I'm Jake. Nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you again.
My name is Jake. My superpower is actually, I'm 18 and I like to create art, like music. I like to draw, paint, and sculpt too. Yeah.
And I met with Jake already, and I've heard his music, and it is incredible. It truly, truly is incredible. I was impressed. He exceeded my expectations, but he's a very talented young man, absolutely.
Thank you.
Here, this is for your girlfriend.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
One guy.
Guy?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Guy.
Good. I'm 10. I'm sorry, 11.
You must have just turned 11.
Yeah. I like to argue with people about anything.
Really?
Yeah.
You're a politician. He said he likes to argue with people. You are a politician, absolutely. Or a debater or a lawyer. You're a lawyer. You're a lawyer. There you go. Great job, man. I've never heard of that. I like to argue with people. That's a talent. That's a talent. Okay, anyone else that I missed? Come on.
Big people are dyslexic too.
Absolutely.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I'm May's mom,
Okay.
and I'm really good at helping out with surgeries.
Helping out in surgeries. Awesome.
Spatial.
Awesome, awesome. That is, we have superheroes all around the room.
Here, here, and here. What do you do like with GameBeat?
GameBeat started out making music and sound effects for video games, but I have since transitioned my company into creating music for TV and radio commercials, but I didn't change the name. So a lot of people are confused when they hear the name GameBeat. They still think I do music for games. I haven't done a game in about 8 years, but I kept the name GameBeat because I didn't want to change it. So, but I do TV and radio commercials, and hopefully, which was my film student? and hopefully movies.
Did you have trouble with reading written sheet music?
Great question. Yes, I did have trouble. As a matter of fact, one thing I forgot to mention is I mentioned how taking organ lessons when I was young, but when I graduated high school, I also attended the American Conservatory of Music in downtown Chicago. I studied jazz piano under a world-renowned jazz pianist named Willie Pickens. He thought the same thing my organ teacher thought. He thought I wasn't interested, I wasn't applying myself, I wasn't practicing, but it just was not working for me. It was not clicking, trying to read this music. So it was at that point, and this was before I got my contract to move to California as a staff writer, I decided I'm not going to give up music, but I'm going to pursue it by ear. And I did. Today, I know what's on the music sheet. I know what the symbols mean. I could fight through it, but I'm much quicker and much more productive without it. So I don't use sheet music in my work, and I don't really need it, unless there's, like a lot of times when I do advertising work, the agency requires that the music you create for a TV spot, you need to give it to them in sheet music. You need to submit as sheet music. But I have software that'll do that for me. I just connect it, and it just makes the sheet music from my MIDI file. But yeah, all by ear now. And I think you had a second part of your question. When I write music, it happens so quickly. And I say that in all modesty, but when I create something, I'm able to write a piece of music in my head in a matter of minutes. Within 5 or 10 minutes, the song is composed. The only challenge, and it's really not a challenge, is for me to take that idea I hear in my head and just go to my equipment and make it into music that everyone can hear. But when I write music, like all the Kalahari songs, and it's just this inspirational thing. When someone tells me, hey, we want you to do this inspirational adrenaline kicks in, and I write the song in a matter of minutes. So it's just a matter of me getting to my equipment and recording it, yeah.